Welcome to Sitcom Showdown, a podcast that reviews classic sitcom episodes and inducts them into our very own Hall of Fame. As usual, one of us has chosen a sitcom episode and the other guy has no idea what it's going to be. Will they already know it? Will they love it? Can they be convinced that it's worthy? Let's find out on the Sitcom Showdown. Hello and welcome to episode 68 of Sitcom Showdown. Jeff is here. Hello, Steve.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Nice to have you with us. Hope life's treating you all right.
Yes, very much so. No, we very sincerely hope that it is.
Yes.
And
it's the 16th of March and the world's gone completely tonto. But Jeff has let me into the Sitcom Showdown bunker to record a podcast episode.
I was going to insist we record this remotely and lock Steve out at all costs. But no, that's all right.
Hasn't come to that yet.
Anyway, so in keeping with the unusual flavour of episodes that we'll be doing throughout the year from time to time, i.e. the Good Place retrospective in the previous month, and other goodies coming this year which we won't tell you about just yet. This month, what are we doing, Steve?
This month we are taking a look at sitcoms which have been transplanted from their country origin. Country of origin, yes. So from the UK to the US or the reverse or who knows. There's lots of different examples.
I've got a lot of examples here.
Oh, okay. What are some...
Yeah.
Have you got some well-known
ones? I didn't want
to,
crimp your flow.
No, but that's people will get the idea.
Okie dokie.
It could be something that worked or it could be something that completely bombed.
Yeah.
Never made it past a pilot.
Well, that's right.
But we'll find out what you've chosen in a little while.
We will. So we've just let's get through some of these examples, I think. So I've got some headings here, and the first one is successes.
Ooh.
And so I'll run some of these by you, Steve-O. So the UK original is Till Death Do Us Part.
Yes.
With Alf Garnett and such. And then in the USA, we had All in the Family.
Mm-hmm.
On CBS.
Yep.
They took that on, and that was a big success. And similarly, and this is one that a listener got in touch with us about, is Steptoe and Son being remade in the USA as Sanford and Son on NBC.
Was that a success? You're saying it is a success.
Massive. These are all what we'd call successes, I reckon. Yeah. And then in the UK, we had Man About the House, which, of course, in the US was Three's Company, which ain't a bad title change, I thought. And that one was on ABC. So we've had three completely different networks, obviously. I don't know who went first, but they obviously thought, gee, there's a gold mine in the UK waiting to be pinched here. But what I didn't know...
Throw them a few quid and...
That's right.
Save a lot of writing.
And of course, the big success, one of your favourite shows, Steve, is The Office.
I was waiting for you to mention that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
They did 201 episodes of the US Office.
That's because it was so far superior to the UK version.
Well, I was reading about that, and people said that the UK version's much darker, and that can put a few people off who like the heartwarming nature of the US Office.
Yes.
All right, let's look at some failures, Steve-O.
Well,
okay.
It must be a long list.
Yeah, undoubtedly, but I've kept it to 3. So we've got ones that didn't even make it past pilot stage, and they're all ones where they tried to keep the original. So we've got Red Dwarf, obviously, in the US, Red Dwarf. And they flew Crichton over. So they kept the original Crichton.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you've got The Young Ones. They did a pilot called Oh No, Not Them. And they flew Neil over to be part of that. I know. It just wouldn't
even the theory of that doesn't work.
No. And then the IT Crowd, of course, where they flew Moss over and tried to recreate that magic and completely failed.
How would you redo the TV detective van in the US? That's never going to work.
No. So much of it is not going to work. And I think by bringing the original brilliant characters over, you're just throwing into sharp relief the sheer difference of the whole thing. It's a kiss of death. And at risk of taking up more time, let me waffle at you some more.
That's right. You can always edit yourself out later.
I can. Okay, so we've got ones that went from the USA to be remade in the UK. Now, you know one of these because you told me about it.
Well, someone actually raised this when we were asking for ideas for this month. Now it was Mad About You, translated to the UK.
It's Loved by You, which doesn't have the same ring to it, that title, I don't think. They did a version of that 70s show in the UK called Days Like These, which might be worth checking out.
Has it got anyone good in it?
Well, it's got Emma Pearson in it, who replaced Janitor the bartender in Time Gentlemen Please. She became the new bartender, Emma Pearson did, Connie the student, in Series 2. One of my favourite sitcoms, Steve, which you hate.
I was going to say anything associated with Time Gentlemen Please is not necessarily a plus in my book.
Okie dokie. Now, let's do this last little one, which is a bit of a rant. Now, this is The Games.
Yes.
Which there's a bit of contention about the British version, shall we call it, called 2012, which occurred when London got the Olympics.
Oh.
Now, in 2000 in Australia, we had the Olympic Games, and the ABC did this brilliant show with John Clark and Brian Dorr. And
yes, as covered in which episode, Jeff?
Oh, I can't remember.
You haven't got it written down?
I haven't got it written down.
Somewhere in our back catalogue.
Yeah, it was a brilliant work of genius. And then, so when London got the Olympics, they toddled over to the UK and sent one of their best negotiators and said, listen, we've got this fantastic show. We want to see if you're interested in doing a version of it. And they got in touch with the head of comedy, and they brought this British writer on board to have a look at it and gave them the DVDs. And then years of meetings, and then nothing. And then a few years later, 2012 comes out with no credit given to...
The bloody Poms ripped us off.
Pom. I was about to say something a bit stronger than that. Anyway, yes. So... no one from the Games participated.
Mongrels.
It was done without their permission, so it's a bit... Anyway, and lastly, that brings us on to Aussie sitcoms that have been made in America.
Right.
Can you name any, Steve?
Aussie sitcoms?
Aussie sitcoms.
That have been made in America?
Yeah.
No.
Kath and Kim?
Oh.
That got made in America.
Okay, right. What was that called then?
Kath and Kim?
Oh.
There was one called Wilfred, which was a talking dog, a human talking dog thing. And then they made that over in America.
Does that even count?
Yeah, it totally does, because it had a big-time star.
Oh.
Yeah. It was Mr. Frodo himself.
Oh.
Yeah, and that went off in America. Anyway, and of course the one we've discussed in the past, which is the brilliant Australian comedy Mother and Son, remade in the UK with Inspector Grimm, and that was called Keeping Mum.
Yes. You going to tell us which one you've chosen?
I am. All right, you ready? Okay, so I've chosen one of the several Fawlty Towers remakes they attempted in America.
Fawlty Towers.
I think people could see this one coming. And it's a sitcom simply called Payne. Payne.
And is it? Right, okay, so
it's
a metaphor and a title.
Well... yeah, extremely clumsy.
Not a metaphor.
No, it's more of a pun, really. But I'll tell you about that in a second. Okay. So we've got, this is 1999. So I was about to say, not too long ago.
1999?
Yeah.
They took a while to get around.
But it is 20 years ago.
Far out.
On CBS. So under the description of sitcom category that we normally carry out here, I've simply put, if you know Fawlty Towers, then you know Payne. It's set in a hotel. The main character is the owner and manager, who's a bit of a tool. And in this case, his first name is Royal, and his last name is Payne, so he's Royal Payne. Ham-fisted. And anyway, his wife is called Constance Payne.
That shows promise.
But it's nice because she's Connie, and that's a nice little tribute to Connie Booth, I think. Yeah. Anyway, so this US version is...
Hang on, what do you mean she's Connie?
Oh, no, because they took the name Connie for Constance, right?
Right. Okay.
And Connie is Connie Booth.
I thought you were saying...
if you know what I mean.
I thought for a moment you might have been saying she played it.
No.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, it's set on the coast of California as opposed to Torquay, England. And this hotel is called the Whispering Pines Inn, owned and operated by Royal Payne and Constance. And so Royal, right, he's always in trying to improve the quality of his hotel instead of perhaps improving the clientele like Basil would. But he eventually wants to franchise this joint and have it go worldwide like your Hiltons or your Waldorf. So he wants to be the big man. Now, Whispering Pines, Steve, if you might remember, we're talking about pilots earlier and everything, but way back in the early days of Sitcom Showdown, we did our very first pilot just to practice the sitcom Showdown thing, and it was Bull Pit, another great Australian sitcom.
What's the connection here?
The connection here is that Ted Bullpitt of Kingswood Country fame, when they did the sequel sitcom many years later, in the retirement village, much like this hotel, was called Whispering Pines.
Oh.
So there we go. This is the second place where people can stay called Whispering Pines that we've covered on Sitcom Showdown.
Wow. Whispering Pines must be a thing.
I think it must be. But Bullpit came out first, so I reckon these guys were watching Bullpit and ripped it off. Any comments so far?
The same thing as what the Poms did with the games.
No, look, the coincidences are
between them, they don't have an original thought in their head, do they?
Absolutely not. Don't send your hate mail to sitcomshowdown@gmail.com. Now, the pilot episode, Steve-O, which I'll describe to you after we're finished, is called Pacific Ocean Duck.
Which Pacific Ocean?
I don't know. Well done. So it merged the plots of Fawlty Towers Gourmet Night with the Hotel Inspector.
Oh. Whoa.
So it tried to put them both together. Well, at the end of the show, as a reward for sitting through this rubbish, I'll explain all that to you, and we'll cack ourselves with laughter. It'll be great. So we're not doing that episode because I watched it, and it was truly, truly, truly horrible.
I got all excited then.
No, I think you'll thank me for not letting you see that, because it will ruin everything for you forever.
Oh, okay.
So, listener, don't watch that one. Anyway, we are doing episode 3, and it's called Whatever Happened to Baby Payne.
No, you haven't actually said this bit. I'm assuming it went for one season then?
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
And which network was it?
Not all of them were shown.
Oh.
Wow.
Right.
Yes, so it was on CBS. Yes.
Interesting, right.
Yes. So before I get into the characters here, Fawlty Towers failed several times to translate into American, as we said before. Now, first was in 1978 for ABC, did an unsuccessful pilot for Chateau Snavely, which doesn't...
Chateau Snavely?
It's not a great title.
It sounds like it should be in France.
Wow, quite. And then there was a version in 1983 that they called Amanda's. So this hotel was being run by Amanda, and that was cancelled after 8 episodes, so it got a run. But it was starring B. Arthur before the Golden Girls.
Huh.
Hey! And then you had another one, but there was Payne on CBS in 1999 with John Larroquette, but there you go. Let's get into these American versions of the characters, shall we? Just briefly.
Yes. I'm assuming that John Cleese got paid for each of these stabs that they had at this.
Ooh, you would hope so, wouldn't you?
Far out. Hope he did all right out of it.
Yeah. Royal Payne is played by John Larroquette, who we covered in Night Court back in episode 60.
Yay!
Well done, Steve. That was one of yours. So obviously we know him from that, but he was also in the John Larroquette show and so on. But inspired by Basil Fawlty, Royal has an obsession with keeping up with this rival hotel called the Sand Dune just down the road. And his schemes are to try and keep up with them, but to do it as cheaply or simply as possible. And by, much like with Basil and hiring the wrong builders,
Yep.
he's always trying to do things on the cheap and compete, and it goes wrong.
He hires orally men.
Orally men, that's right. It's false economy. But he's also rude and two-faced. So we've got Constance Payne. Now, she's played by JoBeth Williams. I'll tell you about her in a sec.
Is familiar?
Oh, yeah. So she's the same antagonistic wife character, and they've got like a dynamic with Sybil and Basil. But apparently the difference is that this couple has an amazing sex life, unlike Basil and Sybil, which was implied to be sort of really repressed. And, there's none of that going on. We're British, thank you very much. And so when Connie's on the phone flipping through a magazine to one of her mates, her whole thing is, look, the only reason I stay together with Royal is that he's decent in the sack and such. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, JoBeth Williams was in tons of movies. It was Kramer versus Kramer, Steve. The Big Chill. These were huge movies.
Right, yes.
The Day After.
Ooh.
Yeah. And tons more. But sitcom-wise, she was nominated for an Emmy for her guest role in Frasier. So she'd done good.
Interesting.
Right. Breeze O'Rourke is the Polly character. Right, so instead of going Polly, they go Breeze, which is a stupid name, but whatever.
Right.
Now, this is played by Julie Benz.
Sounds a bit hippy-dippy, doesn't it?
It does sound a bit hippy-dippy, but it's California, Steve, so that's okay.
All that fits in, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now, this episode isn't particularly strong for poor old Breeze because she's got a cold and she's off, the plot demands that she's out of it for this one.
What's the name of this place again?
Whispering Pines.
Whispering Pines.
Okay. Yes. As all good sitcoms have.
Okay, I'm getting confused because I've got Breeze and now I've got Whispering
Pines. There's a breeze through the Whispering Pines.
Something going on there.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, this is based on Polly right now. So Breeze, like Polly, she's sort of intelligent and efficient, and she's trying to save Royal from his own incompetence, much as Polly tries to save Basil against her best interest.
But you're saying she's out of it in this episode?
And she doesn't feature much in this episode, no.
Shame.
Yeah. But Julie Benz has done heaps of TV, and I mean, you look at the IMDb, and it's enormous. But she was a big player in Dexter. I think she went on to be Dexter's wife or something like that in the show. But before that, she was Darla in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. And that's while this show was going on.
Right, so she must be younger.
Yep.
Cool.
Sitcom-wise, though, she has guest starred in Married with Children and The King of Queens and the American version of Coupling.
Right.
That was one we didn't mention before.
Comedy chops.
Oh, yeah. And she's been in Step by Step and The Single Guy and all these other things. So there you go. Right, we're moving on to Mo, who is Manuel, but Indian and in California.
Played by an Indian actor, I hope?
Nope. That wouldn't pass muster today. It is played by a Latino dude. Yeah, so he's Rick. I was about to call him Rick Beato, but that's the guy on YouTube who we really enjoy, who does all the excellent music analysis. No, this is Rick Batalla, so don't get confused. But this role was his biggest one for Rick. But he's got his own theatre group, and he's very much a stage dude rather than a telly dude.
Right.
Anyway, his first job on TV, Married with Children. Yeah. He was a car wash attendant in that. And that's the one where Al finally goes and washes the Dodge, and then they can't find it anywhere. But they can't find it because there was so much dirt on it that when it got washed, it was a different colour underneath. Classic. Now, just before we start, 20 minutes in, this show, Steve, did have the blessing of John Cleese, and so it's reportedly said that he would appear as the rival hotel manager in Series 2.
No.
Which was quite confident because there was no Series 2. Shall we go away and watch this show?
Yes.
All right, we'll be back in a moment.
Take a walk through Whispering Pines.
Yeah.
Edward is my baby.
She's lovely.
Edward's a boy.
They know already?
What stinks?
It's Mrs. Marsden. Well, no, not Mrs. Marsden. It's her little baby. Connie, this is Lucille Marsden from Family Friendly Travel.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Marsden. We've been expecting you. We had no idea you were bringing your baby.
Oh, I hope that's not a problem. It's becoming harder and harder for our agency to find hotels that provide a wholesome family atmosphere and welcome children.
Oh, welcome children. We love children. We wouldn't care if you squatted down and had one on the floor.
Of course, we'd have to charge extra for the towels. Can I borrow my husband for just a moment?
Absolutely. Do you mind if I breastfeed the baby?
Of course not. Did you bring enough for everybody?
Okay, we're back. So, instant impressions, Steve. Have you got a groan or are you neutral?
Okay. Well, there were some signs of promise, but it was no Fawlty Towers.
Oh, well, no, it was never going to be, was it? So, whatever happened to Baby Payne? Now, here is the one sentence breakdown. It is a reviewer from Family Friendly Travel is staying at the hotel with her baby. Now, Family Friendly Travel, they don't say whether it's a magazine or not, but let's just bring it up to date and assume it's a blog. While she is there, the most dubious characters to ever stay at Whispering Pines check in and make their presence known.
A blog?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Come on.
I'm trying to bring it into the 20th
She'd be on
century.
Instagram or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
She'd be an influencer of
Should be
some
one of them, their influencers. Yeah. Okay, so even though it's only 20 years old,
right,
this is a PC minefield, this episode.
Yeah.
More so, I'd argue, than sitcoms that are 50 years old. I've watched episodes of Hancock and Bless This House and stuff that have got less landmines in them, as we're about to find out. So if you're easily triggered,
This is not a safe space.
This is not a safe space. So we open on the front counter where Breeze, i.e. Polly, the chambermaid, sneezes on Mr. Payne, who is Royal, not Basil.
Yes,
Basil. Okay. And so this
I'm with you so far.
This sets up the Breeze has a cold, right? And so we can count her out more or less. So after Breeze goes off to get a hanky or whatever she's doing, the two old ladies who they've transplanted over to this one, they're American old ladies, Flo and Ethel, they come up to the counter to tell Royal they're expecting an important package and they want to know as soon as it arrives. And so unexpectedly, hilariously, Royal tells them off because he hates their weed being delivered to the hotel.
Yep.
Which just the way he delivered that was brilliant. And naturally he hates this, right? Because not only is it illegal, it makes his hotel look very bad. There's shady characters coming in with their weed. And so we get instantly an idea that Royal, not Basil, is a bit persnickety about who he wants coming through the front doors of his lovely establishment.
However,
Constance
forks out $800
to pay
from the till to pay the dealer.
Yeah. And then
later in the episode
says to the chicks, "You owe me $800."
Yes.
Which was also a decent gag. Right, so but they're
not on the same page, Jeff.
No. They do establish that because you've got Royal saying, "I wish you wouldn't do this," and then Constance forking out the cash.
Yeah.
They're not on the same page. Right, but Ethel needs it for glaucoma, Steve. So that's fine.
Oh, yeah, that's
legit. He asks Flo why she takes it, and she goes, "Oh, it's a preventative, and it's going gangbusters."
Yeah.
Which is a great gag. Anyway, back from the opening credits, right? Because we go to the opening credits after this weed gag scene. We come back from the opening credits, and there's a lady ringing the front desk bell, and she's ringing it, pretty aggressively. Anyway, this is Lucille Marsden, and she's the lady from Family Friendly Travel. Now, she says, oh, it's a reservation for me, Lucille, and Edward. And then you can cue these mix-up where Royal thinks Edward's her husband. And she says, no, it's not. And then he immediately leaps to the conclusion that Edward's just some bloke she's bringing along for an affair.
So he's clearly never read this alleged blog.
No.
Or whatever it is.
Or magazine or
because that would
whatever.
have become completely apparently clear.
And so she goes, no, Edward's my baby. And so that's why it's Lucille and Edward. And she picks up the baby carrying thing off the floor and plonks it down on the counter. And Royal flinches and backs up and goes, whoa, what's going on here? And she goes, I hope it's not going to be a problem to bring the kids here. And of course, because Royal desperately wants a good review from this lady, he says, no, it's fantastic. It's the best thing ever. Anyway, but Constance comes out of the office going, oh, what stinks? And Lucille kind of looks a bit offended, and Royal says, oh, it's Mrs. Marsden. And he goes, no, not her, it's the baby. And they're desperately trying to stop accidentally insulting her, or Edward. Anyway, Constance pulls Royal into the back office and grills him on why he's so keen to cater to this woman. And he says that Whispering Pines desperately needs a good review from Lucille so that all these families will bring their kids, and then he can rip them off by hiring them all this expensive stuff and all that sort of stuff. So this hotel is very rarely full, so they need this so he can sell them $5 Band-Aids. Anyway, Constance says, look, people come out to these California hotels to get away from their kids or to make kids, which I thought was a decent gag.
Yes, I've written that down as one of the decent gags.
Hey. So what she's doing here, for the benefit of us, the viewers, is pointing out how insanely insincere and two-faced Royal is, and he'll do anything for cash and reputation. Anyway, so they go back out to the lobby to find Mo, i.e. Manuel, having a minor conniption because Lucille's breastfeeding the baby, and he's not expecting that at all. Anyway, so Lucille asks Royal and Constance, do you do daycare? To which Royal replies, daycare, night care, we always care. And, it's enough to make you want to vomit. Lucille's really pleased with this, though, and she goes on a rant about how impressed she is that there's a hotel that's so nice and family-friendly and isn't full of sodomites, fornicators, and Democrats. And then the baby throws up all over Royal.
Yep.
All down his tie.
The poor tie.
It's copped it twice already.
Yep.
And we're only 4 minutes in.
5 minutes in, 4 minutes.
So we cut to some time later where Mo is checking in a new guest, and Royal and Constance sort of enter the lobby, and he runs up to them and he's so proud, and he goes, Mr. and Mrs. Payne, I've signed in a guest on my own with no help from anyone. It was all fantastic. And they, introduce themselves and say, oh, hi, we're Constance and Royal Payne, the proprietors. And this guest turns around and it's a man in a dress and a wig. Mm-hmm. And so it's this British customer. And the British customer calls themselves Claire Weatherby, the dame of British theatre. And Claire's being extremely flirtatious with Royal, to say the least. And he's got all these strange looks coming out of him. He's very standoffish. But Claire decides not to pick up on any of this disapproval, and she just keeps up the constant flirting and innuendo. And Constance is standing off to one side, sniggering away and going, deal with that one, Royal. Anyway, after a bit of back and forth and watching him squirm...
But you haven't said why he's squirming.
He's squirming because he thinks he's got what he calls a drag queen who's trying to...
Bust a move
on Royal. And he's not down for any of this. Yep. And he's feeling very physically uncomfortable, Steve-O. And also, he's extremely worried that Mrs. Marsden's going to come in at any second.
Yep.
So from here, we can see it's obviously going to be a case of Royal trying to stop Lucille, coming into contact with Claire, the British actress, and all these other guests that we're about to meet. And so at this point, the delivery guy, who calls himself, quote, Ethel's eye doctor, comes in carrying a package that looks about the size of an ounce of weed. And he's a very
How would you know?
Shabby looking chap. Oh, I'm taking a guess at it. Anyway, he's the chap with the weed for the two old ladies. And Lucille, the conservative mum, walks back into the lobby at this point. And Royal quickly gets onto her, guides her neatly out of the way of the guy, the shabby looking pot dealer, who you well spotted, Steve, was played by the guy who was the Kramer actor playing Kramer of the show within a show, Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So not Michael Richards,
Genius.
but the other bloke. Well spotted. So Royal's guiding her away from this shabby-looking drug dealer and guides her straight into the path of Claire Weatherby, coming out of the ladies, loudly proclaiming, oh, there was a divine bathroom and I could happily die in there.
Yep.
What a fantastic ladies' room.
So it's a better one than What's-His-Face runs.
Absolutely.
No one even went in there for 10 years.
The Gov.
Yeah, the Gov.
Oh, I don't know. His ladies' room was awesome. Remember, it was all pink and unused.
Oh, yes.
But there was the men's room that was horrible.
Yeah,
but they changed the signs on the doors.
Oh, dear.
Oh. Yeah. It's well worth a watch, everybody.
Do yourself a favour. Don't watch it.
Now, look, if you had to choose between this or Time, Gentlemen, Please, which one would you recommend?
Oh, this.
Boo.
In a heartbeat.
Okay. So, Royal then has to change direction, and he's got Lucille by the arm still, swerving all over the place so she doesn't come into contact with what these people he's decided are dodgy characters and not very family friendly. Oh, God. Anyway, he delivers her straight into the kitchen. He's just going, I'm just going to show Mrs. Marsden the kitchen, dear, and walk in there, and the two old ladies, clearly wasted, making a sundae by pouring the whipped cream straight into their gobs and the chocolate sauce.
Yep.
And Mrs. Marsden doesn't know what's going on here. So trying to cover, Royal says, they're always experimenting with fun new snacks for the kids. To which Flo says, yeah, and there's some brownies in the oven. And so they walk out of the room as Constance is walking in. And Constance...
I was half waiting for the brownies to become a plot point.
Oh, yeah.
After that.
They missed a trick there, didn't they? Anyway, Constance has got the old lady's package for them, and she hands them the package and says, you owe me $800, to which Ethel replies, not until we've weighed it. Anyway, meanwhile, Lucille has somehow not cottoned on to any of these dodgy doings.
1 minute they're making sundaes in each other's mouths, and then the next minute they're making very canny drug dealer remarks.
Yeah. And they're such innocent-looking, lovely old ladies.
Yes.
Right, where were we? Anyway, Lucille hasn't cottoned on to any of these dodgy doings, which is lucky. And she says she's going to leave young Edward in the Whispering Pines daycare, which doesn't exist, I should tell you, and she'll come back at 4 o'clock. And so basically from here on out, it's all mix-ups with the baby. So I could go through the rest of this. Do you reckon I should?
Whoa.
If I promise to do it quickly?
Yes.
All right.
I'm setting the timer.
So Royal is literally left holding the baby, right? He's trying to hand it to Constance, saying, get this thing away from me, take it. And they're bickering. Anyway, Mo's on the phone taking a booking, and he can't hear instructions from the customer because of the sheer volume of Royal and Constance snapping at one another. And I couldn't believe he did this, but he actually shushed Royal Payne, the boss. And then Royal says, what are you doing shushing me? And then Mo shushes him again. Oh, there's going to be trouble. He can't believe he's been shushed. So Mo then hangs up and proudly reports that he's booked a huge group of flutists from San Francisco for the afternoon, and they're going to stay the whole weekend. Mm-hmm. And Mo, he's done a brilliant job, and he's sure that Mr. Fawlty, that Royal's going to be pleased.
Yes.
But he's not.
Why not?
No. Well, no, because he got shushed, and he's really pissed off that he got shushed. But he also, instead of being pleased, Royal says, the word isn't flutists, Mo, it's flautists. And then, look, you must be punished for shushing me. Take this baby for the rest of the day. And Mo doesn't consider this a punishment at all. He loves babies.
You think he would be very happy at basically booking the whole hotel?
Yeah.
Out in one...
Totes.
Yeah, in one hit.
But he's not, is he?
No.
Ah.
And they're flutists, so they're going to raise the tone of the place.
That's right. They'll be all posh opera types. Orchestra types. Stay tuned on that one, listeners.
Yes.
Right, so after a cool exchange with Constance in the back office, which we might discuss later, the bell rings in the lobby, and it's Claire Weatherby, the trans dame of British theatre, who's probably a guy from Jersey or something, is what, because we don't know if Claire Weatherby's actually British or, as I think, Royal suspects that it's just some dude from Jersey putting on a posh accent.
Yep.
Or something like that. I have no idea. But anyway, she's standing at the lobby desk, right? She wants a drink at the bar. So Royal leads her through to the bar and pours a ginormous sherry, and then he's got to have one as well.
Sherry?
Yeah. Wasn't it?
It was sherry.
Yeah, because she's British,
Oh, yes, I guess so.
Come on now. She's British, She wants a sherry at lunchtime. Anyway, so what's happening here is she's flirting outrageously camply with Royal, who's thinking, because he's already said to his wife Constance, look, I've got to get this chick out of here in case she runs into Mrs. Marsden and etc., etc. But instead of coming up as Basil Fawlty would with some ridiculous thing like, oh, look, your room's going to have the electrics replaced and we've got to move you over here.
It's being remodeled tonight.
Yeah. He flat out, and I was amazed by this, he flat out just says, look, I've got this highly conservative blogger lady staying here from magazine, whatever it is, and we're trying to create this extremely pure, family-friendly atmosphere just to please her so we can better the hotel, and would you mind not putting yourself about a bit and perhaps staying in your room and blah, blah, blah. And she sort of takes this really well, surprisingly, and then she goes, well, I'd hope society had gone beyond this. But we're used to it, people like me are always being looked down upon. People have a bad opinion of actors. And he goes, yep, whatever, close enough. Yep. End of story. And so after all of that, she's acquiesced to it. We cut back to Mo in his room. And much like Steve the barman from Time Gentlemen Please, Mo lives in the basement. And so his bed is down there with the laundry chute going into the... Yeah. So poor old Mo, he doesn't even get a proper room. Anyway, he's in there looking after the baby and he's singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star to the baby in Indian, in Hindi or something he would be doing. It's quite charming. Anyway, and so he lays little baby Edward down in the equivalent of the crib, which is, the laundry cart with all the soft bedding in there. And he's sort of rocking it back and forth, and little Eddie's falling asleep. And so Mo goes, right, thumbs up, I'm going to have a little snooze down here on my cot as well. And he has a nice little sleepy. Anyway, we move forward in time a bit. And back up in the lobby, we have the Chinese laundry dude come in. Now, these guys, right, are regular characters. Okay. So this is another bit
keeping track of the stereotypes here?
Yeah, because you've got... Now, I watched some other episodes, right? We'll get to that. Okay, so you've got the guy who delivers the food, right? The fresh fish guy, and he's one of the Chinese brothers. And one of the other Chinese brothers does the laundry, and there's another one that does something else. And because Basil... Oh, God, because
Can
Royal...
one of them swallow the ocean?
I remember that book. And Royal, who hates tradesmen coming into the lobby, every episode he'll yell at them, why don't you use the tradesman's entrance at the back door? And they go, why don't you use the tradesman's entrance at the back door? And he'll go, you're just as bad as your brother. And they go, you're as bad as my brother. And they don't take any crap off Royal. And he just hates it when someone comes in with a crate full of smelly fish through his beautiful lobby.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a bit of background in case you thought, why is he hurling stuff? And, he makes fun of the guy's accent and all that sort of stuff.
No, I liked that.
So if that triggers you, well, don't watch this episode. Okay. So meanwhile, you can see what's going to happen here, can't you? Laundry dude comes to pick up laundry. Okay. So Mrs. Marsden calls over the phone because she's off having her nails done or whatever she's doing to check on young Eddie. And Royal pretends that Eddie's right there with him and he's making pretend baby sounds and all this sort of stuff. But meanwhile, the Chinese laundry dude has grabbed the laundry. He's taken the laundry cart out of the basement. Oh, no. So we skip forward in time again for a while. Nothing's gone wrong, and Constance is forced to admit that Royal might actually get away with this scam because they don't know the baby's gone in the laundry. But Mo bursts in, and he goes, oh, the baby's missing. And then they instantly figure out that the laundry dude has taken it. So cue the car chase where they leap into the Volvo, and they're speeding along after this van, and Royal is standing with his top half out the sunroof, screaming at the Chinese laundry van dude, pull over. And the Chinese laundry dude goes, no way, you're road raging, I'm not pulling over. You've got a baby in the back. Anyway, they get the baby back after all this car chase business. So the problem is, as they're, quite pleased to have done this, and this is Constance and Royal walking back into the hotel discussing about how they never had children and they'd be great and blah, blah, blah. And they walk into the lobby, which is full of pissed up nudists who are heavily drinking.
Yep.
Not flutists, nudists.
They're all in pretty good shape, have you noticed that?
Oh, they're all totally buff. Yeah, so they must be...
Like us, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. They must be Australian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on the cheaty diet.
That's right. With the peeps in the chili. So, where were we? Right. So they've got a lobby full of nudists. Mrs. Marsden's going to come back any moment. And so they're desperately scrambling to get all these nudies back up into their room, as Royal puts it. And so Mo, who has been given the baby, has to go off and give it to Breeze. Breeze won't take the baby because she's sick. And then Claire comes out of her room and goes, "Ooh, a baby. I love babies." And Mo just hands her the baby and runs off.
Yep.
And yes, so meanwhile, downstairs, this is presumably 2 minutes later or something, they've cleaned out all the nudists, and Mo's there, and Breeze is there, and then Constance and Royal are going, hang on, Breeze is supposed to have the baby, where's the baby? And it's like, oh no, what are we going to do? Just as Mrs. Marsden walks in, oh no, they're about to get rumbled. And then lovely Claire walks in holding the baby and says, all right, well, he's all clean and dry and lovely, and hands it back to Mrs. Marsden, who's super chuffed. She goes, oh, you never told me you had a genuine British nanny. This is the best. I'm going to write you the best review ever, etc., etc. And everything's ended beautifully. And then a nudie man walks in holding a basketball over his trouser furniture and says, where is everybody, dude? Oh, we're supposed to be having a game.
Yep.
And Mrs. Marsden goes, what is that? And within a split second, Claire totally bails him out by going, that's a totally unnecessary basketball, and leads him off into the bar, presumably to buy this young man a drink.
And then you're not leaving it there, are you?
Am I not?
No, because the ball comes from out of shot. The ball comes flying into
really
Royal's hands.
Oh, yeah. And he goes, ugh, icky.
Yeah.
And he goes, there you go. So she's in the bar with a nudie gentleman. Mrs. Marsden's got her baby. Everyone's got what they want. Within reason.
Yes.
Well,
you could say that.
And
so that ends well.
Yeah, it ends well for everybody, but that's the American version of Fawlty Towers, version 3.
Well, that says it all, doesn't it?
Oh.
This one ends well.
It's very non-Fawlty Towersian.
I was going to say the difference is apparent.
Yeah. Good call. And now to spare the poor listener, I'll hand over to you, Steve, for some of your observations.
All right, where should we start? Well, I was a bit miffed we didn't get to see more of Breeze, because I think she showed potential.
Yep.
Mo seems like someone's idea of what an Indian person might be, rather than anything resembling a real Indian person.
No.
And is the actor South American or something like that?
Yeah, he's Latino of some description.
Doesn't even resemble an Indian person.
Not as such, no.
Anyway, I didn't find Mo very compelling.
No, Mo wasn't very compelling. But what can you do? I mean, do you put that down to the writing, given some poor lines, or do you put it down to the acting, or what do you put it down to?
I don't know. I haven't got a beat on that. Well, most of my other thoughts are really more like summary kind of things.
Okay.
To tell you the truth.
So you want to wait until until the end?
Yes, I'm going to hold these things.
So you can lambast them?
Yep.
All right, fair enough. I've got a bunch of observations here, and these are neither here nor there, but I'm just thinking about how Royal, because he wants to eventually franchise this place, in search of immortal legendary status as a hotelier, like Hilton or Waldorf. And so I feel that is more the American dream, to be the best and the biggest and better than everyone else. Whereas Basil, to me, wanted a sort of one-off exclusive small boutique hotel servicing the toffiest of the high society people. And he's not looking to necessarily expand. He just wants a small, well-controlled, well-done hotel.
He wanted to be the cream of Torquay.
Yeah, that's right. So there's a bit of a difference in cultures there and what each of them was aiming for.
But Royal hadn't thought this through at all, which his wife very well points out to him. You know, what if this is a success and she publishes this article? What are you going to do?
Yeah, how are you going to look after these kids?
Who's going to take care of these children?
Yeah. And what does he say?
I can't remember.
He goes, Breeze won't always have a cold, i.e., what's he going to do? Just hand off 20 kids to her and then somehow she's got to look after them with no resources and plus do the rest of her jobs? Well, it's insane.
If Breeze is the equivalent of Polly, and obviously we didn't see enough of her to really judge in this episode, Polly is the one that holds the place together and basically does 99% of the work in Fawlty Towers. So if there's any similarities here, then giving that person the babysitting duties is the worst idea possible.
Yeah.
How's the work going to get done?
Well, this is typical Fawlty Towers / Payne stuff, isn't it? Have a big master plan, but don't bother to sink any money into it or even think about how it's going to be done. Oh, let's use that as our segue into some gags, right? Because at that point, you've got... Okay, so this is the discussion that they're having. This is Constance and Royal, i.e. Sybil and Basil, in the back office, and she's going, how are you going to do this? And he just says, Breeze, i.e. Polly, will take care of it.
Yep.
And she goes, oh, well, that's great. And maybe when the two old ladies aren't stoned, they can have a go as well.
Yeah.
And he's just like thumbs up and going, yeah, you're back on board. I'm digging it, man.
Of course, they're never not stoned. That's
the whole point, isn't it?
Another problem.
Now, when they enter the lobby and there's all the nudists there, Connie can't help but rub it into poor old Royal and say, oh, look at this, more family fun. Isn't this all very pure and lovely? She goes, we could have an old-fashioned ring toss. Which I'm sure people don't need me to explain, but it conjures up a hilarious image.
Yep.
I thought that was a fantastic gag. And she's not even fazed even slightly by that, and it's very much like Sybil. She'd walk into a situation that Basil's created, and she'd just go, yeah, right, here we go again. And she wouldn't be shocked or... Does that sound right to you? You know, she just...
Well, she didn't really seem to care which way it went, to tell you the truth.
Well, we'll get onto that. That might be a lack of stakes. Another gag is, this is at the very start when Lucille's been ringing the bell very aggressively. And Royal comes flying out and he goes, oh, I'm very sorry about all this. You know, that extra nanosecond you were waiting must have been an eternity. And you go, yes, that's very Basil-esque, I thought.
Yep.
That was pretty cool. Have you got any before I continue on?
No.
No? All right, fair enough.
We've already covered all my
Your gags?
notable gags.
Oh.
Notably good gags. I've got some comments
about some bad ones.
The other way. Yeah.
Right. So after being shushed, while Mo's still on the phone, and Royal is very annoyed at being shushed, and Breeze asks him what's going on. Well, he goes, I've got this baby I don't want, and Mo's about to experience the first phone suppository, which I thought, that's a very nice way of saying where he's going to shove the phone.
Yep.
It was all in the delivery. I didn't do it justice, of course. And also when Claire Weatherby, Dame of British Theatre...
That's never going to get old, is it?
No. Has been putting the moves on Royal, and he can't stand it. But Connie very wittily says to him, yeah, but isn't it nice to know that if you did want to switch teams, you wouldn't be the person picked last? Which, again, the way she delivered it is just fantastic. And I think what they've done here is the people making the show are good enough to know to get all the reaction shots from John Larroquette, because he's doing some marvellous reaction shots of all these things. So that was pretty cool. And I'm pretty much through the gags at this point in time, Steve.
Welcome, Wuthering Pines. I'm your host, Royal Payne.
And what a host. How do you do?
Oh, dear.
I see by your look of surprise that you recognize me as Claire Weatherby, Grand Dame of the British Theatre.
Yes. And what an extraordinary honor it is to have someone like you staying with us.
Can I say something about gags then?
Please do.
Because there were at least half a dozen that completely went through to the keeper, as far as I was concerned.
Okay.
I.e., I had no clue what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Have you got an example there?
Well, yeah, I've got several examples.
Okay, cool.
So this is the most bizarre one, where Lucille, the reviewer, says, "Oh no, Edward's my baby," and Royal says, "Oh," and she says, "Edward's a boy."
No, because he says, "Oh, she's lovely."
Right, and she goes, "He's a boy," and Royal goes, "And they know that already?"
Yeah.
What is that about?
Yeah. I told you my theory on what I thought that was.
And tell us what your theory was.
It's a crap theory.
It's a crap joke.
It's
not even a joke.
It's not even a joke. It's
a sub-joke.
It's mystifying. So is that he doesn't have children. He doesn't know anything about children. He physically recoils when the baby is put on the counter. He knows nothing about babies, so maybe he thought that the trouser-related organs don't get identified until they're 1 or 2 or something like that.
Yep.
So he just goes, "Oh, they can tell already." I didn't understand it either, but you have to invent theories to make it work.
Yes. Oh, well. Good attempt.
Yeah.
There's a joke about Mo having taken care of his siblings until they were drafted into the army at 7 years of age.
Yeah. He had to take care of all his brothers and sisters until they turned 7 and were drafted. There you go. Okay.
What?
I'm not sure kids go into the Indian military at 7 years old.
No. But... when Royal is making the baby noises on the phone to try and convince Lucille that they're taking good care of Edward, Connie says, "You're going to start producing..." She says, "Careful, you're going to start producing milk." He's pretending to be
the baby.
The baby, not
the mum.
A lactating mother.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah.
And then there was another one about didn't Martinise her baby. I've got no idea what that was.
No, I have no idea what that was. I didn't even know that was supposed to be a joke. These are mysteries that maybe, who knows?
I don't know. Well, you tell us, listeners, but it seems to be... I mean, there's some gold in here, but for every bit of gold, there's just completely incomprehensible stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's a lump of purest green.
Yeah. well put. Look, before you continue, let's take on...
a nugget of purest green.
A nugget of purest green. Let's take on some quotes from reviewers, shall we, Steve?
Yes. Oh, shall we?
Do you want some?
No, not really.
No, not really? Oh, that's
Are they putting the boot in? What's going on
over
over
they're
there?
Totally putting the boot in. You'd love it. Okay. So
can I just say,
yeah,
you've got to admire John for he's got the chops.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with what he's doing.
No.
I have to put that out there, and even
absolutely
the lady who plays Connie.
Oh, that's
and some of the lines she's got are pretty good, but.
This is all coming up in my summary, you see.
Right, okay.
So then what happens when I say that, you can nod, and then it sounds like my idea.
Yes, okay.
Which is great. All right, so Tom Jicha, the television reporter for the Florida Sun-Sentinel at the time, said this show should be renamed Payne-ful. And he said, "Payne is not a bad show because it doesn't stand up to Fawlty Towers. It is a bad show, period." Yeah. So it's not just crap by comparison, it's just crap. Entertainment critic Kenny Littlefield said, "The original Fawlty Towers was wicked fun. Payne is just plain dumb and it's written for morons." You know, okie dokie then.
If Rotten Tomatoes had been invented back in 1999, it would have gotten 0. Hang on, is 0 a good rating on...
No.
Is that the best
Surely
possible
not.
Or the worst possible?
No, it'd be the worst possible.
Oh, okay.
So I think the sitcom Payne doesn't use, from what we saw, Breezy like Fawlty Towers uses Polly.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell if it's just this episode. I can't tell if it's the actress. I can't tell if it's the writing. But it doesn't have like Polly's strength or her wit, I don't think. This episode was certainly missing that.
Well, Polly is the character that is kind of squashed or crushed between Basil and Sybil, trying to keep both of them happy.
Yep.
And which is just impossible, of course, given the shenanigans that Basil
makes
her go through.
Yep.
So there was none of that tension going on.
Nope. Absolutely. And this is the thing. So this doesn't have the edge of nervous breakdown feel to it.
Look, I had here.
Ooh.
Lack of nervous breakdown.
Woohoo! Because you always...
If there's no nervous breakdown at the end of the episode,
you never feel like he's even remotely fazed by this crap.
No.
He's quite a self-assured chappy.
Well,
Royal?
he barely even seems to know who this woman is, or this blog she writes, what it is.
Yeah.
So
he doesn't care. It's just...
Yeah, really, it's... If she writes a bad review, what's the big
What's
deal?
the worst that can happen, yeah. And he's offending more customers.
He'd be better off trying to keep the nudists happy.
Yeah, that's right. I'd argue the characters here have a sweeter edge to them. They're likeable.
Mm-hmm. Hang on, what are you saying? The Fawlty Towers characters are more...
No,
well, these
these characters in Payne. Sorry, I get mixed up. But I find them more... They've got a sweeter, less biting edge to them, if you know what I mean. I'm probably not putting it the right way, but I feel that...
They may even like each other.
Well, that's what I've put. So in this one, in Payne, I think there is genuinely great chemistry with Royal and Constance. So, she gives him enough rope to hang himself, right? And she'll stand there and laugh at him from the sidelines. Mm-hmm. But you can tell she likes him. You know what I mean? And a lot of her lines, there's some good ones in there, but in the hands of a lesser actress, they would have been destroyed, those lines, I think. So I think the two main leads do it extremely well. That's my view on Constance and Royal. And I think the Manuel and Polly, compared to Fawlty Towers, let the side down somewhat. Oh, good. I'm glad you agree. I've only got two things left to say, Steve. And then should I do that and let you summarise? Or?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the last thing I want to do before I give you my opinion on it is, so Sean Cullen is I think he's Canadian, and he plays Claire Weatherby. And I just thought, tremendous job, and played it completely irrepressible, right? So no matter if someone's incredibly rude to her or whatever, she just does not care, It just doesn't pierce her armour of...
Does she not care, or does she not realise?
No, she either doesn't care or doesn't realise.
All right.
But she didn't complain at the end when Mrs. Marsden called her the British nanny. If you're the Dame of British Theatre, you don't want to be called a mere nanny. But she likes to go along to get along, and she looked after the baby and cleaned it all up and everything like that. But great job by him. And so I thought, what's he meaning? So I looked him up, and Sean had his own show, sort of, I guess, a bit like the Red Green Show, because it said it's a cross between a sitcom and a variety show, and that's what I consider the Red Green Show to be. And he was on Mad TV, so he's obviously a bit of a sketch comedy dude. So that was pretty cool. And all in all, for this entire show, Payne, I'd say if it was all like this episode, it might be watchable when they do original plots. But it's not all like this. There's some truly, truly awful bits.
Oh.
This
is the best one by far, is it?
Well, I didn't watch them all, but, it was one of the best ones. Yes.
All right. Well, shall we come back to the character of... What's her name?
What, Claire Weatherby.
Claire Weatherby. Yeah, so that character, like I said, you can't really tell if she's just going along for the ride in a jovial kind of way or whether she's completely dim.
Yep.
And I feel the same way about the reviewer, Lucille.
Yep. She'd have to be blind and deaf not to know what's going on.
Exactly. There's no pushback or, these characters don't seem to realise what's going on. So it takes a lot of the tension out of it, right?
It's the opposite of Mrs. Richards.
If Royal was getting some pushback from these kind of people, then that would make things a bit more interesting.
That's a brilliant observation.
Some of the other things, I feel it's almost a bit unfair to judge it against Fawlty Towers, but anyway. So this one is not hiding. So he's not hiding the fact that, he's doing all this from his wife, which is what makes
Fawlty Towers. So
part of what makes Fawlty Towers so great. If this was Basil, he would have discussed it with Sybil. She would have said, "That's a completely shocking idea. That's not
if you do that, I'm going to kill you.
That's not the clientele we're looking for. We're not equipped to handle that kind of business.
Yeah,
don't do it." And he would have gone behind her back and put the ad in, and then suddenly this lady turns up, and he'd be trying to hide all this from her, and that would just be brilliant.
Yeah.
Then on a similar thing, he tells the truth, like you said. I don't know if you brought it up in your notes just then, but basically he just lays out to Claire with a B.
Yes. Can you make
exactly
yourself
what the deal
scarce,
is.
please?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to suck up insincerely to this lady and make the hotel seem like something it isn't. I mean, that's just crazy telling the truth. What
kind of insanity is this? We've covered the lack of a nervous breakdown. Now, what's the title of this episode again?
It's called Whatever Happened to Baby Payne.
Now, what is that about?
Famous... Is it a book or a movie or a short story or a poem? Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is a very famous, shall we say, literary work.
Well, I've never heard of it.
I don't know if it is. Well, I have.
If I haven't
just
heard
don't know
of
what
it,
it is.
not...
No, it doesn't count. It's not in the repertoire of Dickens. It doesn't
It's
count.
not in the Western canon.
No, we could look it up now, but is it worth it?
Well, it kind of gives it the wrong impression as well. Whatever happened to Baby Payne?
Yeah.
Because they're kind of discussing their lack of children at one point in the episode, so you kind of takes you down a weird thought tangent.
Well, it sets up wrong expectations.
I know, am I the only one who's feeling that?
I don't think so. I think you'd be quite right. I'm not seeing any flaws in what you're saying.
I've come to the end of my notes.
Oh, okay. Look, and before we leave, and then get your final opinion, and this isn't going up for judgment, obviously, for the Hall of Fame, or is it? I don't know. That's your decision.
Is there any point in nominating it?
Nope.
I'll be interested in hearing where it sits on your star rating.
Okay, well, I'll put this to you first, right? This, as promised earlier, is the description of Episode 5, Pacific Ocean Duck, where they tried to merge Gourmet Night and the Hotel Inspectors with a bit of one of the other episodes. Okay, deep breaths, Dave. So, Royal's stress levels could not be higher. While trying to pull off a Gourmet Night featuring the creations of his new and talented but extremely temperamental chef, he hears a rumour that covert hotel inspectors are in town. He also learns that one can hire a high-priced call girl in the bar at the Sand Dune, which is his rival hotel that he hates. And prudish Royal is terrified that these trollops might infest his bar as well. So he's keeping an eye out in the bar for women of the night. Okay, so as Gourmet Night gets underway, the new chef is found unconscious from an unknown health issue, and Royal assumes him to be dead. Now, this is a bit like that Dead Bloke one as well, if you remember, where they put him in the basket and stuff.
I remember it well.
Resulting in a replay of an element in the Fawlty Towers episode, The Kipper and the Corpse. Okay, so Royal persuades a local Chinese restaurant to modify their Peking duck recipe into a concoction he calls Pacific Ocean Duck. But his car, which he tried to repair himself, stalls, and in his haste to hop out and fix the car,
My goodness.
Royal leaves and it rolls over a cliff with the duck inside. Royal then hijacks a bicycle to fetch a replacement duck.
Why didn't you pick this one? Come on.
At the restaurant, I'll tell you why. He accidentally takes the wrong tray, one that contains table scraps instead of the needed gourmet dish. Finally, Royal's sexist assumptions cause him not to realise that a hotel inspector might actually be female, but he knows a call girl would be, resulting in him making another disastrous assumption about a female guest. All right. Now, on paper, that's gold laced with platinum with diamonds inset. But I watched it, Steve, and honestly, you don't want to see it, even for the car crash value, because it's just the crappiest crap of Craptown. I should let you make your own decision about that, but I just thought, right, I'll bring this episode to the table instead. That's how bad it was. It ruins Fawlty Towers.
They basically took 3 of the most top shelf sitcom episodes ever.
Tried to cram them
threw them into a blender and tried to make something out
22
of it.
minutes.
Yeah, how could you? I mean, we've gone back through those episodes, and there is not
a scrap of wasted. Yeah.
Yes.
There's no room to take things out.
What were they thinking?
I don't know. And even worse, right, is because that went out 5th when they broadcast it, but they recorded it first. So they probably hadn't settled into the characters just yet and might have been a bit stilted. So John Larroquette is nowhere near as good as he is in this one. And if you can assume that for all the other characters as well, and then there's so much going on, and it's a disaster area. But I thought, God, that sounds great on paper, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
I thought that was rather good.
I like the car going off the cliff.
Yeah. No getting that one back. But then he can't whack it with a branch. He can whack it with a fish.
You remember that episode of Some Mothers Do Have Them, where Frank gets his car balanced on the edge of a cliff while he's having a picnic?
No. Oh, dear.
With Betty?
That wouldn't surprise me.
He's in a bit of trouble. Yeah. I think it's actually it's a work car as well.
Yeah. Oh, no.
He's borrowed.
That's even worse. We've still not done that disaster com, have we?
No.
Did I lend you the DVD?
Yep.
Oh, good, because I couldn't watch any. Oh, too stressful. All right. So all in all, I found a nice curiosity, and some of it's awful, but some of it's got some pure gold gags. I think most of the good gags went to Constance, and John Larroquette is brilliant. That's my summary. Where do you stand?
Well, it's worse than mediocre, given that some of the jokes don't even make sense.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm rating it down near the 1 or 2 out of 5
End
scale.
of the spectrum? Yeah, no one would blame you. Yep. All right, well, let's wrap this up. And thank you, dear listener, for sitting through all of that. And if curiosity leads you to watch some Payne, just type in Payne sitcom into YouTube, and it's all there for you in a beautiful playlist. And you can just let them rattle off one by one.
Any disclaimer you want to put up before giving that endorsement?
No.
Pointing people in that direction? No? Okay.
No, you could tune in and watch some Time Gentlemen Please or something like that, but I don't think it's on YouTube.
Yes. Alrighty. Good choice, Jeff.
Ta very much.
I enjoyed investigating that curiosity, as you put it.
Yeah, and there'll be more in a fortnight.
Yes, come back for some more curiosity in a fortnight.
Excellent. All right, well, take care out there, dear listener, and we'll see you in around a fortnight-ish.
Yep.
See ya. Cheers. Join us next time on Sitcom Showdown, when we'll be putting another 5-star episode under the microscope. And in the meantime, you can contact us with feedback on Facebook, Twitter @Sitcom Showdown, or by email sitcomshowdown@gmail.com.